Saturday evening out in my shed. I've been doing lots of little jobs today. I've been making a new spacer block for the throttle pedal out of the Fiesta, just to change the position of it to bring it up so that it's easier to do heel toe. This was the first spacer block I made, just a piece of ash. I did make a second one which is thicker, and I moved the pedal over a little bit, but that brought it too close. So I had to make a third one which is slightly thicker than this but in the same position, and that seems to work really well. So I was working on that. I've cleaned up that new lot of Meccano. I'll get back to that in a second. Some of the red paint did come off some of the very early parts, which is unusual. Normally that doesn't happen, so my evaporust has turned red. I've been wire brushing bits and pieces for the Velocette, and I just have these soaking in the evaporust now, just the ends, where it was hard for me to get in and wire brush it. These are the handlebars, this is part of the frame. I did clean up the rear, sort of the rear frame kickstand part. I took all of that apart, that's all of this, and I've cleaned all of that up. This is the rest of the front frame. I've wire brushed all the little brackets and bits and pieces. I did have to weld up on the little kickstand just up in here, which is kind of where the spring tension holds it against the frame, I guess. So I just put a couple of little spots of weld there just to build that up where it had been damaged. There's various other parts I've been cleaning up as I've been going. The springs I've painted black, you don't really see those. This is the same black I'm going to use for all of the frame parts. What else have we done? A little bit of wheeling. Tomorrow I need to get the gas welding gear fired up and weld up the crack in the middle there, and then keep working on that. Speaking of the bodywork, I did buy from Metal Shaper Tom one of his slappers to help support him, and this is going to be really useful, I think, when it comes to needing to fold the aluminium around the timber frame. That'll be quite useful. Let's see. Everything's a mess, of course, so I do need to clean up. Still need to sort out all these Velocette engine parts. This is the Meccano we'll put away. Same story, I sort of soaked the parts in evaporust and then wash them off. I use boiling water to wash them off because then they dry really quickly, and then I go through and straighten them all with the straightening machine or a hammer and dolly, and then rub everything down with an oily rag. These are these early parts, and these are the ones where the paint just came straight off. So let's see what I do with those. A couple of these parts are actually French Meccano parts, so made in France. I've just seen a couple of those. And I also, this motor was very grimy, so I took this apart and cleaned it very carefully. I didn't want to lose the label, so I just cleaned this with sort of warm soapy water and put all the gears through the ultrasonic. The biggest problem with these is taking them apart is easy. Getting them back together is a real struggle. So the first problem is you have to wind up the mainspring, and the way I've been doing that is I hold this in the vise and, wearing my big leather gloves, wrap the spring around, and then I tie it with stainless steel locking wire. I put 2 separate loops of that around it to hold it. While it's under tension, that allows you to get it back into the housing. And then the problem is getting all of those little gears in place. It's easy enough to figure out where they go. I also always take photographs of things before I take them apart, so I know how they meant to go back together. The difficulty is just getting all the little shafts to line up with the holes in the plate. There's no bearings, it's just steel shaft into the steel plate. So obviously I've oiled all of this, and that's really fiddly. The way I do it is put the plate on, put in the bottom 2 screws, not all the way tight, and then start tightening the screws on this side first, and you sort of slowly tighten the screws, wiggle the little gears so that the shafts fall into the holes, and you just keep doing that, and eventually you get to a point where it kind of goes click and the two plates close together, and you know you've got everything nicely aligned. So this one works pretty well now. This is reversing, of course. I've just realised the reversing isn't working. So, there we go. The reversing is working. I was looking at the wrong shaft. So that's nice that it works again. They don't run for very long. I'm not sure what you could actually power off them, but I did want to restore that one. I'm going to leave the other two. It's just too much hassle, and that's kind of it. That's taken me all day. I wanted to get the Velocette done because I was doing the wire brushing outside while it was sunny. You can probably hear it's raining again now, and it's likely to rain all day tomorrow, so I wanted to get that done while I still could. Tomorrow can be an inside day with welding and kind of sort out bits and pieces. My headlamp reflectors have been silvered, and I just need them to send me the invoice. I'll pay that, they'll send those back, and I can look at reassembling the headlamps. I have to decide what I'm going to do with them eventually, if I'm going to paint them. I'm very tempted just to leave them like this, leave them old, because I can't paint them until I paint the body. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll just reassemble them as they are. They don't need to be new. And yeah, that's about it for today. Sunday, and I've just had another big cleanup. I seem to spend half my time in Big Shed making a mess and the other half cleaning it up, but it's relatively clean again. I'd like to say I've been working on the body of the Riley and done my welding, but I haven't. I think I'm procrastinating, but I'm not sure. I have ended up doing some other things today though, which took up the time. So the Riley will be during the week. I've moved my fridge over to there because I decided Big Shed had everything but the kitchen sink, so I've added the kitchen sink. This is something I got a few months ago, I think, from the tip shop. I can't remember how much it cost. It wouldn't have been much at all. The tip shop don't really sell things for profit, they just sell things to get rid of them. So this was a nice stainless steel sink. I was going to use this in the garden as a kind of gardening sink, but I don't think we really have a need for it. But I can definitely make use of it in here. So I've been using up as many pieces of wood. This is timber left over from my wall there, bits of plywood. This is why it's a little bit over-engineered, because I tried to use up as much as I could. I painted it with a tin of paint I found. It's a full tin of paint. I have no idea what I bought that for, but it was there, so I used that to paint it. The sink is just kind of sitting in there. There's nothing holding it in, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's pretty solid. It's all screwed to the wall. The glue on this is still drying, so when the glue dries on this, I'll paint all of that the same color. And I just need to figure out what I'm going to do with the outlet. If I run it straight out through the wall, I don't think I will. One, I don't want to make a hole in the wall. Two, I think it'll be better just to have a waste container, because then if I'm doing things that aren't water, I can collect the waste. I'm not just going to dump it out on the ground. So the sink's there, parts washer next to it, gourds are still drying, and the fridge over there. And that kind of took most of the day. I haven't done anything on the Velocette again. I did tidy up the Meccano cleaned up around that area, so that's all nice and tidy. And I did fit the new throttle pedal spacer in the Fiesta. This is the old one that I used. I think that's 3/4 of an inch thick, and I made a new one. The first one I made, I shifted the pedal over a little bit to the left as well, but I found that made everything too close. It wasn't right. All I had to do in the end was actually just raise it up further, and I just used a scrap piece off my ash, so it's that thick, 32 millimeters from memory, so a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch thicker than I had it before, and that's made all the difference. It works really well now. Oops. So like I say, nothing on the Riley, but it's getting there. I need to weld up the crack in the middle and do a bit more smoothing on this. It's very ripply. It's going to take a lot of finishing, and I need to trim this. This is way oversized. I probably only need to wrap 1/2 inch around the frame, so I can start trimming these, and then it'll be a matter of making the 3 side pieces. I decided I was going to do it in 3, piece at the back, piece over here, and then the other piece at the front here. The front, I've been working on that a little bit as well, just tidying that up, just getting some of the wobbles out of that. I need to figure out how to fix that little corner where the weld's broken. I'm not actually sure how I'm going to wrap the corners around. I guess I just have to cut a little line and then wrap it around, because that's a 90-degree bend, so it's going to be hard to get that looking nice. Yeah, it's coming along. My seat back is straight again now. I'm not sure I mentioned this, but this actually had a bit of a warp in it, so I left it. I think it still does have a bit of a warp in it, but it was far worse before, so I actually left it clamped in the vise with blocks to twist it, and that seems to have worked. So just discovered my fridge isn't square, so I'll have to fix that. But I think that'll be quite handy. Very handy for doing things like rebuilding carburetors and stuff like that. So I'm quite pleased with how that's come out. It is all bolted into the walls and everything, so there's no way it can move. I did do a few other things. It made it sound like I haven't done much today, but I've been busy since about 8 o'clock. I also 3D printed this sort of plastic fitting to better fit my funnel. So I always top this up with water from the dehumidifier, and I use this for cleaning things. It's just very handy to have a sort of water supply in here, and the funnel would always sort of tip around when I was trying to empty the dehumidifier into it, so that now holds that steady. And the other thing I did was finish cleaning up some of the Velocette parts, the frame and the handlebars, so they're all covered in WD-40, so hopefully they don't flash rust. This is the bottom of the frame, and the ends of this were worn down, so I'd actually welded in new end pieces, and they were very pitted, so I cleaned all of that up. Obviously there was stuff inside the tube because that's now started leaking out. I may drill a small hole in this and flood the inside with rust proofing, but where the pitting was, I've used some JB Weld. I painted it with etch primer first and then epoxied over that, and I'll sand all of that smooth, and then it'll get another coat of paint over that. So those are done. Those are the doors for the Riley. Probably shouldn't leave them sitting on top of the MGB like that. And I think I mentioned the lamps. The reflector should be on the way back, so I'm going to look at rebuilding those very shortly.